Cinema Worms.
Discussing everything from Grima Wormtongue to the Shy Halib.
I'm Sabib.
And I'm Linz.
And this is Cinema Worms Podcast.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about Ready or Not 2, which we just saw with some of our pals at the cinema. This is the much-awaited sequel to, can you believe it, 2019's Ready or Not.
Holy crap.
Oh, I am not ready. I am not ready for this, Ready or Not. Now, that was a wonderful horror thriller comedy. It was actually one of my best films of the first 25 years of the century. It stars Samara Weaving as Grace, a woman who marries into the extremely wealthy Ladomas family, only to find that the sort of post-wedding initiation ritual involves a sick game of hide-and-seek, which pits her against all her new in-laws. Grace is quite literally hunted by the family, including her new husband, because the rules of this weird devil cult thing that they're doing state that if the bride lives until dawn, she wins, and the rest of the family die. This sequel should have been called Ready or Not 2, You Can't Hide, Gonna Find You and Take It Slowly. That's a Fuji joke for those who are unversed in the way of the G's. It was directed by Matt Bettinelli, Alpin, and Tyler Gillett, and it was written by Guy Busick and R. Christopher Murphy. And so the first one was, and the sequel was as well. So same director, same writers this time around. So unfortunately, because this is a sequel, we do have to spoiler you a little bit. Grace does survive the first film. Are we surprised? And this one picks up pretty much exactly where the first film leaves off. So after surviving the Ladomas game of hide-and-seek, Grace collapses after smoking outside and is quickly transported to a hospital, and then, unhelpfully but definitely plausibly within the American judicial system, police are mad at her because they think that she killed everybody, which is sort of true to some extent, but to be fair, in her defense, they were trying to kill her first, so which jury in the land would convict them? Grace has been taken to hospital, and this has triggered someone calling her emergency contact, which happens to be her sister Faith, who is played by Catherine Love Newton, who we'll know for many things, but also she was in Abigail as well as like a bunch of TV, a bunch of films. Yeah. You recognize her from a lot of stuff that she's been in, and she is playing Faith and Grace because their parents were very unimaginative. They haven't spoken in a while. You sort of find out why in the course of the film. There's been some familial discord there, but now Grace is unfortunately about to be kidnapped by a greater plot. She might have survived the Ladomases, but now she has to fight all of the other devil-worshipping families and do the same thing as the lawyer for the devil, I guess, Elijah Wood's character says. It is kind of like Double or Nothing. And of course, Grace at first is like, no, I don't want to do this, you can't make me. They threaten to kill Faith, and she's like, okay, well, I see we have no choice. And we go for just another madcap round of killer hide-and-seek. Now, what did you think of this film?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun and a really fun sequel, which, oh my gosh, it comes 7 years later almost. So time does fly.
Oh.
I haven't seen the first one in a while, like since like 2020. So wow, it's been too long.
You were
Need
gone
to rewatch it.
When me and some of the pals that went to the cinema with us tonight, we watched it at one of our special hangout days that we do every so often with our writer friends. We watched it while you were in another country last year, and we all watched it together. They had not seen it before, so it was great to introduce it to them.
Yeah, of course, totally enjoyable from what I remember of the first one, and will rewatch it. And this one, they had to take it to the next level, so they totally did. It was like, Conspiracy City, population devil worshippers.
Use my thing. I like it. Population devil worshippers is pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't as smooth.
I mean,
but it's for a secret evil society controls the whole world. Spoiler. It's a lot of fun.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, now, the first one, The first one has a pretty stacked cast. You know, it's a lot of like people. It's Annie McDowell, and alongside Samara Weaving, we've got Adam Brody and Mark O'Brien, and we've also got is it Melanie Scrofano from Winona Earp in it as well? Like we a lot of people that you would
I don't
recognize.
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's particularly funny. And again, you've got a couple of people that I recognised in this, but it was a bit obviously you've got your big stars. You've got Elijah Wood, you've got Sarah Michelle Gellar, and Sean Hatosi from The Pit in there as well, and some other people that I didn't really recognise so much, but you've got they set up the families really nicely. You've got clear people with obvious goals. Whoever wins this round, gets to wear the special ring. There's always a special thing with these guys. You can never just like. There's no diplomacy in the devil worshipping cult. There's no. They say it's a council, but really it's a hierarchy.
It's a dictatorship.
It's a dictatorship and a monarchy. The devil is a monarch, I guess, but they're always fighting for their place at court. And really, what they want is not just to kill the bride, Grace, but they want to be the one to do it, because the person who gets to kill her specifically gets the special ring and gets to maintain the kind of chair position of the entire council, which they seem to insinuate means that this person kind of rules the world. And we do see that in the first sort of 10 minutes when we see one of the kind of patriarchs of these families watching the TV, and there's some sort of Middle Eastern conflict going on. He makes one call and orders a ceasefire, and the next moment, implausibly quickly, you could have waited 10 seconds, we see the breaking news there is a ceasefire. So we see just how much power these people wield and why you might fight and die and kill for that power.
Yeah, and I know you were saying like, oh, can't be as good as the first one, but
few sequels are, except Sister Act 2.
Yeah,
You left
good
them
one,
perfectly
good
serious.
one. What did you think of the addition of Catherine? What's her face? Newton.
Yes,
She's great. She's so funny. Personally, I think she's got some pizzazz.
I liked her. I thought she was fun. I feel like she could have played it a bit more scared for a bit longer. She seemed to settle into it a bit too quickly for me. While Samara Weaving was still in, and Samara Weaving, who has already been through a whole film's worth of this stuff, seemed more shell-shocked most of the time. Then again, she was receiving like most of the injuries for this film. She always seemed to be kind of in the way. I mean, honestly, with that amount of blood loss, I'm like, girl, can you even stand up? I'm worried about you. It was good. We did laugh. It was pretty funny. It was never going to be the original, and I did reset my expectations on that basis. I felt that the original was funnier, and it played into the stereotypes with the characters a bit more. It felt a bit deeper. This one felt a little bit more shallow. We didn't get a lot of time to meet the other families and we didn't kind of get enough to sort of hold on to. We were given like one detail about each. And it's not quite enough to build much of a hold or a characterization or emotional bond as an audience member with that person before they get potentially killed off. Like I felt that we knew the characters in the first film a bit more before they all started dying in various ways. And I felt like we just didn't quite get that now. Then again, I'm surprised that they managed to do a sequel that was as good as this, considering that you could have quite easily ended the first film at the end of it and never had another. But of course, Hollywood does love their IP scraping.
I mean, I think it's tough because the first one is one of your favoriteest films
It is so good,
ever,
though.
and you never stop talking about it.
I do.
So,
I talk
of
about
course,
other things.
you're going to expect... There are a few others. Maybe one other. Coherence.
I was about to say, is it Coherence?
Coherence of this.
And
That's
also,
all you talk
my
about.
gosh, R.I.P. to Nicholas Brendon, who was in Coherence.
Aw.
And, I know they were thinking about making a sequel as well, and I thought about that this week of how it will never be the same without him.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Mm-hmm. And obviously it made me remember that because Sarah Michelle Gellar, who starred with him in Buffy for years and years, was also in this film. Yeah, so, yeah.
I actually I enjoyed this film a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of fun, and I thought for what the setup is and the high stakes are, I thought it did really well. There are only a couple beats, which would be spoilers, I can tell you after, where I thought, you could slow down, you could make this a little more of a challenge, just a couple beats, and otherwise I think for what it is and the setup, it's really well done, a lot of fun. I definitely recommend it. So we're going to be talking about a film we saw, like, was it last week?
Mm-hmm.
It is a French animated sort of science fiction fantasy film from I guess he's the co-producer and director, Hugo Benvenu. And it's his feature film directorial debut, which is, I didn't really try looking up too much yet, but I didn't see anything else by him. It was co-written with Felix de Givry. Now, there are famous French actors who voice the characters. We saw, not intentionally, but we saw an English dubbed version.
It just happened to be, it was on at the Cineworld.
But
there was
it was
no option.
yeah, there was no option.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind because it was like a lot of famous actors who were really good doing the American voices. So for the French characters, you have people like Swan R. Laud, Louis Garrel, etc., doing the voices. For the American version, Mark Ruffalo, Natalie Portman, who also produced, Will Ferrell, Andy Samberg.
My boyfriend, Andy Samberg.
Yeah, your boyfriend, Andy Samberg.
I love you, Andy Samberg.
Andy Samberg, actually hot Samberg. Okay, Flea, America Ferrera. So yeah, like a really interesting and funny cast. So this is a very unique. It's not. I don't know if it says anywhere in this Wikipedia entry anyway that it's like anime, but it has like an interesting style, a unique style of animation. I'd have to look into like how you define it exactly and how they chose that style of animation, but really lovely, like a beautiful simplicity to it. And it's interesting. Okay, so the plot is you have this 10-year-old boy, Arco Durrell, who lives in the far, far, far future. And humans live like in floating islands in the clouds. And they have these capes and these crystals that, if you jump off of your sky island and goes fast enough, you can travel through time. But you got to be over.
Legitimate.
Yeah,
thing to do
but it's so cute. I like the logic of it. I was like, it's fine. Okay, so apparently it was released on my birthday, but we didn't see it on my birthday. We saw it after. Okay,
we were too busy seeing Surratt and being
what
depressed.
the fuck? Sorry, cursed. And Arco is 10. He's not yet 12. He wants to go rainbow sky flying through time like his family. And he steals his sister's suit and does it anyway and ends up in some random ass time that he should not have ended up in. But it is still the future. He just ends up in a near future from us. Like it's 2075. And so it's interesting. It's like you can see some of the hints of like how humans will evolve, like the worsening weather and these shields that go over houses and robots that do everything, like dark. And he meets this other 10-year-old girl, and she tries to like help him find his suit again and like potentially get back home. And then there are these three eccentric brothers, Dougie, Stewie, and Frankie, and they once saw a rainbow sky flyer when they were young and no one believed them, so they're trying to find one, and they saw signs that like Arco may have arrived. So they're trying to find him, and they're very evil, goofy, but they're goofy. Anyway, so then you see the shenanigans of this girl helping Arco maybe go back home, but they form this lovely, beautiful bond. And it's emotional. It's about kids sort of feeling kind of abandoned by their parents, but yearning for something bigger, for things to change. So what are your thoughts on this film, this very interesting, imaginative film?
Yeah, I agree. I do think it's interesting. It felt very Miyazakian in places.
Yeah,
like, if you had told me like this was a Studio Ghibli film, I would have believed you. I didn't know much about it going in. I went in pretty blind, and I'm glad that you came with me at last minute. You don't know anything about it, so I was quite surprised to see how much we both enjoyed it. I really liked the presence of the brothers. They were kind of Three Stooges-esque. They were sort of Marx Brothers-esque.
It.
They were idiot dorks, but they were, kind of competent in some ways at pursuing their own ends. They were very persistent about trying to find out what this. You were never quite kind of sure, and I obviously recognized some of the voices. That was good. It did feel it had that Miyazaki quality.
Yes.
It felt very, this is heartfelt in a way. This is a child
Yeah.
finding out that the world is not always a fair place or a good place, but that people can be fair and good. And how to kind of function when you feel, as you say, you feel abandoned or you feel like you're kind of an outsider. What do you do when you find someone else who's an outsider? And is it that, is it good to cleave to them so closely, or can you appreciate it for the friendship that you have? Are you okay, like, to if they leave for some reason again, like,
Wistful,
like, yeah,
longing.
how can you be okay with yourself? And it's a lot for a kid character to go through. How do we form bonds with other people? How do we create relationships? How do we maintain those? You can, I mean, we know even adults find that difficult to do, but when you're a child, it's much harder to kind of to measure your own emotional responses to things. They're often outsized. Maybe something does feel like the worst thing in the world because maybe it's the worst thing you've experienced to date. So yeah, I find all that stuff, it's hard to get across in a film about kids, and also hard to get across in an animated film sometimes, but I felt I did it really well. I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed it. The rainbow stuff was really good. I enjoyed how bright it was as well. It was very colourful. I can imagine kids watching this and maybe not even quite realising how deep and profound some of the messages are in it. And at the same time, it was kind of goofy and funny at places. It ticked a lot of boxes for me. It's not my favourite thing that I saw, this month, but it really did tick a lot of boxes.
I really enjoyed it. It's really interesting, and I'll link a little article about how it was made, because essentially the creator had this like vision of this boy with like this like rainbow cape, and he basically like kind of started drawing it and then just did storyboarding for years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I don't understand from this article that they had like a script. It was just like images. And I get that sense. And then they really had to like work hard with a small team to just like hand draw it and make it happen and fundraise.
That, you create something, have an idea, and that you work for years and years until you realize it, until you make it come to fruition through your own means. They self-funded this in the beginning, didn't they?
For several years.
So well done, because it's really difficult to do that kind of thing.
Can you imagine just spending years and years and hundreds of thousands of your own funded money to make this happen?
It must be wonderful to see it's finally,
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, been made.
And okay, I thought it was actually, there's something about the vibe and the tone of it that's like optimistic yet really sad but beautiful, and like sort of strange.
Mm-hmm.
Just strange. And the brothers for me and the rainbow capes, I was like, I love this.
Mm-hmm.
I love this. I told you it had this, just like a final thought, that it had the feeling of like a TV episode, like a really good TV episode of some like story, but it was a feature film length. So
like an Avatar, The Last Airbender episode or something.
Yeah, like maybe an extended Avatar episode, because of, I didn't know if there were enough twists and turns in the plot, and maybe it was too impressionistic.
Okay.
To feel like a fully satisfying arc.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that.
Yeah, but I really loved it.
That's a good point.
I think if you like animated things, I really recommend go seeing it, just because it's a beautiful, strange little film.